Chundria, Chundria, it's Chundria Show.
On today's show, entrepreneur Nickeya talks about making a difference in the lives of young girls through perfectly packaged youth. Success strategist Shelley Meche'tte talks being a powerful woman in a modern world. Intuitive coach Shanda Catrice talks loving others without losing yourself. Hairstylist Sapphire talks tips for maintaining healthy hair. And don't miss a bonus feature with international speaker Tana and Session. To know Nickeya, founder of Perfectly Packaged Youth, which provides personal hygiene kits for young girls and now young boys too. Nickeya and I sit down to talk about her business.
And what is Perfectly Packaged You?
Wow, okay, so Perfectly Packaged You, it really is a self-affirmation. It's everything about an individual. It doesn't have to be female or male, it's just an identity of someone. And the idea was created because going through a hard time in my late 20s, early 30s, you know, when you're adults, you tend to reflect on how did you get to the point that you're at now. And so what happened was I thought about what made me the person I am today on the positive side. And so how did I get so far opposite of what I'm used to? And I thought about where I started. And my mom took me to my favorite restaurant. We had my favorite meal, which was Sizzlers. and she took me to have the talk. And I remember at that moment, even though she didn't provide anything, what she did was paint a clear picture that as a young girl, I would transition into so many things, starting with puberty. And so I remember starting my cycle at Dodger Stadium during the 7th inning stretch.
What?
No joke. But it sounds horrific, but it really wasn't, because at that moment I was like, oh, it's time to go. I got it. And I remember thinking, as a young girl, I'm going to go through things and I'm just going to have to adapt to it and bounce back. So later in life, going through things, I adapted to it and now I bounce back and I put a face to what I got as a young girl and called it Perfectly Packaged You.
Wow.
That's how I got it.
Wow. That is awesome. So what was your inspiration for launching it? I mean, just from your own experience or like, because it's been, how long have you had it now?
Wow, we're now 3 years in.
3 years in. So you had that experience as a young girl, but what was the inspiration? What was the epiphany that went off like, I want to create this for other children or other youth?
That would be my niece.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So my niece is now 13, I think, 13.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, oh my God, I wish I had a daughter. I wish I could give her the talk. So my sister is an amazing woman and she did all those things. But I played my part by creating a pretty package that I can give to her.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was a part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then thus Perfectly Packaged You is born.
Yes. And she's my co-founder, my co-partner, and she's our brand ambassador, part of our website. And I mean, just an amazing spokesperson. And she's totally adopted the idea as well.
Wow. Okay. I love that your family is so supportive. Your niece too. You just recently shot a commercial, which includes your sister and your niece in it. So I love it. I love what you're doing. Now this project is new and timely. You'll agree. What are the best benefits for parents of teen girls and boys?
Wow, the best benefits are creating an atmosphere where it's an open dialogue. Because I would say that in my era and anyone beyond their 30s or 40s, you probably had a parent who felt like, oh, I can't have that conversation. Or my parent didn't do that to me, so I don't know how to give that to them. But we live in such a world that is filled with technology, so there's ways of getting around that and finding positive inspirations to pull from. And so I just think that I pull from the new era that will give it to the old ways of eras of conversation, and we just married the two.
That's genius. What type of feedback have you received thus far?
Wow, amazing feedback. Like, I love feedback, both positive, and I never say negative. I say professional.
Or critical, like maybe like constructive criticism, anything like that?
I beg for that.
I can't imagine that it would be so much of that because it's such a new idea. It's brilliant. It's a beautiful idea, truly. So, you know, I'm sure you're getting praise and people.
Yeah.
I remember like the first time hearing about it from you was like, wow, like wow, it's such a wow factor to what you're doing. So far it's been good.
It has been great. The feedback that I've gotten most of is branding, like add your name in there, add more of your stuff. So you'll see in the next 2 to 3 months that a lot of the product in there will now start to say Perfectly Packaged You. Like we're going to replace the bags and have our own personal bags. We've added our own pamphlets. So
You said it said add your name, your own name?
Perfectly packed, PBY. Perfectly
Oh, I
packed.
see. Okay.
Because a lot of the resources what we do are their commercial products that are already on the market that people are comfortable with. But now we're trying to brand the box for us. I would say one of the things that I see in the marketplace now is there are companies like ours in the sense of, cycle, period, menstruation, but we never say cycle, we never say period, we say menstruation, but we refer to that as our pretty package. And that's because it's not about the products. The products are going to be purchased and sold regardless. It's about the way we communicate. So our brand is really about wholesome communication.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So
I
much.
absolutely agree. Now, you wrote a book recently. Is it 70 Days of Happy?
Yes, 70 Days of Happy. Life is better when you smile.
Ooh.
I told y'all I found one thing about myself.
And you stuck with it.
I stuck with that.
Okay, so tell me about the book. When was it launched? And
The
what's it
book
about?
actually was launched, I believe it was June 2016. But the reason that I ended up writing it is because I ended up doing a challenge on Facebook. And that particular challenge was not to say anything negative for like a full 90 days. And so I'm pretty much a
In
positive
general,
person.
like
just
throughout the day?
in everything.
Like a no complaining kind
No
of deal?
complaining
Okay.
for 90 days. And then at the end of the day, you would say something that you were grateful for. Well, I'm already a pretty happy person, but I still found that in those days of, being intentionally aware of, even standing in line like, oh my gosh,
How easy it
and
is
how
to
easy it
complain.
is to complain. So when I was done, I was like, wow, that was a pretty cool little exercise there. And I said, wow, I learned a lot about myself.
I love that.
And so I wanted to be able to put that into a book. And so within that, I found that in 70 days, when you sit and when you're intentional about it, you really can turn some things around. I know a lot of times we look at 30 days and we're like, you
Right.
can really make a difference, and you can. But I
Sometimes
found
you revert back, right?
sometimes you do. But I found that if we just stick in it just a little while longer and make it a little more intentional, then we really can develop some better habits.
Absolutely.
And the things that are in the book are not just about self. The things that are in the book are you're happier when you prepare for your family when you leave. I know it don't sound good, but I promise you, when you prepare for your family and you create a legacy, that they can follow behind, it really does make you feel like a much happier person because you've prepared for them.
Okay. So who was your target audience when you created the book?
My women.
Your
the women whom I love, the single moms out there who are frustrated, who don't know sometimes how to smile, who are smiling for other people.
Yes.
When do we smile
For
ourselves?
Oh, I love that.
When do we smile for us? It's okay that we do all of these things for our spouses or, our partner, our children, our job. That's fine. But when do you stop and say, it's not about you today. I'm smiling because I love me. And that has nothing to do with you.
It's all about me.
You see what I'm
About me
saying?
in this moment. Can I have
Can
this
you
moment?
have this moment? Is that okay?
For women, it is like that. Like, can I have, you're doing
Yes.
the kids, the family, the job, everybody.
Yes.
Women are such strong creatures. We are amazing,
Yes.
amazing women, and always pulled in different directions. And you're right.
Is it okay if I just close the bathroom and take a bath and just cry for 10 minutes? Sometimes we just need to just
Without
release.
somebody like, why are you taking a bath? Like,
Exactly.
take a bath. I just wanna
Close
take
the
a
door.
bath. Okay, well, you exemplify and exemplify what a strong woman is. So, in your opinion, can you just define what a strong woman, define a woman's strength? Because I feel like we need to hear that. We need to be defined
Here's the thing.
in a better light. I'll say.
Definitely. But here's the thing. I believe that everyone's definition of strength is personal. So I believe that when we say, this is what it is to be a strong woman, and this is what it is to be a strong woman, I think we set ourselves up to not find out what the strengths are within me. For me, my strength was being able to look myself in the eye and say, you're not comfortable with who you are.
And let's
So
fix that. Let's change that.
fix that. And what I think we need to understand is there's strength and weakness. We look at strength like rah, rah, rah. No. Sometimes your strength is in the fact that you're broken and you recognize that you're broken. And so you don't take that and pour that on to someone else. That's a strength. That's a strength. Every time you get up in the morning as a single mother and you decide, I'm going to go to this job that I hate, because my kid wants some McDonald's tonight.
Or have to buy food
Or I have-
and provide and pay the bills and take
But
care
how
of
many
everything.
moms are going to bed hungry because you decided it's about me making sure that my children have something? That's a strength. For the wife who's taking care of her husband who may be laid off for 2-3 months, and she's in there working her home business day and night. Selflessness, that's a strength. So I think we need to broaden sometimes what we look at as strengths. And it's not just always being out, like, yeah, I can do everything. I can be everything. That sometimes is what's breaking us, because we can do everything and be. I don't have to do everything and be everything. I have women around me who can pick me up. I have a husband who says, sit down,
Okay,
have a seat. Have a seat.
Yes, husband.
And I'll be like, I just cross my leg. Okay, boo. I will do that. Yes.
Okay,
That's a strength.
That's support too. It's amazing.
And for us to be able to accept that support. We don't know how to accept support sometimes as women.
Especially if you're used to being a leader, you're used to running it, and
Yes.
you're like, sometimes you really don't, you might not know how to turn
You
it
just
off.
don't know how to.
Sit down. Like, wait.
Right? What you mean?
What
huh?
you doing?
Huh? What you?
Sit down.
Sit down.
Wait, what you about to cook?
Exactly.
Wait.
What you put? How'd you
Stove is
season
too
that?
high. Why you make rice? Like,
Brown or white? What is it?
Male empowerment. What
Definitely.
encouraging message can you leave women as they continue to function in a modern world filled with sexism and racism,
Yes.
scrutiny, sexual harassment, exploitation?
Ooh, my goodness! You bring up like a million points.
I know it's a lot.
It's so much that we go through as women, but I really want my legacy to my children to be, and to women everywhere to be, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be you. I know that we're in a world that tells us we as women can't get along. You're a lie.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I'm not your competition. I'm your collaborator.
Yes.
I'm
your ally.
I'm your ally.
In your own words, how do you describe the phrase love without losing yourself?
Well, for me, love without losing yourself is actually being able to love as a whole person and being able to stay connected to your inner truth and connected to source and connected to that so authentic purpose. Because we all come here with our own unique purpose.
Absolutely.
And one of the purposes of meeting a soulmate, because I believe in soulmates, and you can have many different soulmates, and they have different purposes in your life. But one of the reasons for meeting and matching up with a soulmate is to help each other with your purpose. So that means that I have to be connected and stay in alignment with my own purpose, and that is not losing myself in someone else, that I'm so into their purpose or their focus or their dreams that I forget about my own.
I love it. Absolutely, and it's so true. Not to lose sight of what you want, and for the sake of the other person.
Yes.
So I couldn't agree more. Now, when in a relationship, it's pretty instinctive to put the needs of others before your own. Can you talk about the drawbacks of putting ourselves last more often than not?
Well, I don't, this is like how we were socialized. And, a lot of things coming up right now and this rise of the feminine and we're realizing how much of our society is masculine dominated and this patriarchy. So a lot of that has come from that type of conditioning, and that's necessarily not true. And what I teach in my coaching practice is that the way my hierarchy goes for an empowered woman is, first, it should be you and your creator and you and God. Next should be you and you. After that should be you and your divine life partner. Next should be you and your children. And then after that should be you and your family of origin or your friends. And then that hierarchy really supports you in staying in alignment with what your true purpose is and actually coming to your relationships whole. So it's not meant for you to put someone before yourself. It is meant for you to be at that same kind of corresponding and supplementing that with someone else, so you can create this beautiful relationship and not at the sacrifice of yourself.
Beautiful words. And something that sticks out to me is feeling whole, and not really healing from certain experiences, and then you jump into a new relationship, and then you're relying on that person to fix all of that sometimes, So I know a lot of women in general people in general struggle with that.
Yeah, they do, and I think a lot of people don't really know who they are, and it's a lot it's cliche, but it's so true. And who you are changes. So like even me, like I have my hair like shaved now, and if you met me when I was in my late 20s, I would tell you I would never wear my hair like this. You know? So I used to have really, really long hair, and at some point, I used to have straight hair, and I would tell you I would never wear my hair relaxed, and different things that I like, and the different things that I do now, I would, at 18, I have guessed that I would have been this person. So sometimes you can't even stay just stagnant with your own view of yourself.
Right.
It constantly changes and grows. So it's just about being in alignment moment to moment and day to day, and being in that truth with yourself as it changes and as you grow.
Especially since we're continually evolving, like you're saying,
Yes.
like something you were interested in doing 15 years ago is completely different. You know, something you do now, you may not do in 5 years.
And you can change your mind. And I noticed that even when I started my spiritual journey, and I had this moment when I was in my late 20s, and I was just going around telling everyone, like, this is what God is, this is what it means to be spiritual, you know, X, Y, Z, you got to do this. And then now some of those things I believed, I don't really believe anymore. And I'm surprised. So it's okay to also change your mind.
It's
And
okay
I
to
can
change
just
your
tell
mind.
people that the only thing you will know is true is now, what
Right.
I'm telling you today.
Right.
And as long as I'm in alignment with that, whoever I'm with will be in that same frequency and vibration with me.
Awesome. I love that. I love it. How can a person avoid the fears left from past relationships turning into issues in current ones or relationships as we pursue them? And I know you touched on this already, but, you know, how can, especially for people that have trouble letting go, you know, how can they?
Well, basically you have to deal with, so what I devised is like I developed this method called Radical Love Method, and it takes you through the steps. And I love radical as like a double entendre. So radical means to be different and do a different way, to think a different way.
Right.
And when I was doing my dating coaching, I would say date different. So a lot of things I would get people outside of races, outside of socioeconomic status, what you think you should date sometimes needs to change so you can broaden that and get the real person that you need. And so with this, I feel like it's the same thing. So do it different way, but then also radical means root, if you look at the etymology of it. And so I like to go back to the source. And for me, in everything in relationship, your first love of your life was your parents or your primary caretaker. And that is where whatever your perceptions are of love have developed. Whatever your fears are of love, that's where they started. That is the root and that is the source. So in order to go forward and move forward in relationships, you have to look at that past relationship. And it's difficult to do it on your own because you have a blind spot. So a lot of times I will always get a coach, get a therapist, and then don't just get a therapist or a coach, but I specialize in attachment theory.
Oh, I
and
like that.
Get a coach or a therapist who understands attachment theory and that the psychology of relationships and the brain science of relationships. And then that way you can go and you can heal. And there's basically 3 to 4 different types that people are. So when you find out your type, then I'll tell you what your triggers are. It'll tell you what your fears are. It'll tell you what you need. It'll tell you how you communicate and how you sometimes perceive other people. And it'll tell you who you can't date, because that'll always end in an unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship. So for me, for anyone looking to avoid that, is get to know thyself, meaning know your relationship style or your love style, know your triggers, know that source fear and those source love wounds that you had in your childhood, acknowledge them, heal them, accept them.
Absolutely.
And
And
then you
also
can move
don't
forward.
limit yourself. Like you said,
Yes.
step outside of your box, step outside of your comfort zone, date differently. So I
Yeah.
really like that. And I think a lot of people could benefit from dating different, dating outside of your race, dating outside of, you know, socioeconomic status.
Yes.
It makes a big
And,
difference.
and also, too, with dating, what people don't really understand is that chemistry is not what you should go for. So this is hard, especially for the males, but chemistry is not what you go for. So chemistry is interesting. You have chemistry in 2 ways. So chemistry is also just a primitive, you looking at your current surroundings and picking the best person for you to procreate or produce or move forward.
Right.
That's just very animalistic and primitive. And then you have another chemistry. So your brain and subconscious, whenever you recognize familiarity, it has chemistry with. So that's where you'll notice if women love bad boys and they can't stop liking that boy, and then a nice boy they feel nothing with, and people think, oh, there's something wrong with them, they need to grow up. But this is real. They really don't feel anything physical for that person, because the brain, when it sees that person that it knows, it fires that up for you. So
you're
feel
attracted and drawn
attracted
to that.
to the wrong person. So you cannot choose, and the same thing with men, you cannot choose your mate based on chemistry alone. And this is an interesting thing. The brain, if you change it and like coax it, it will change the chemistry. So you have to almost, in a sense, nudge it to not feel chemistry for that type of person and start.
That's awesome. Now, you know hair all too well. With different hair types, are there hair care tips that apply to people generally?
Generally, pretty much what you put in your body is what comes out in your hair. So, for example, if you're on a low-fat diet, your hair is pretty much going to come out brittle. When it grows out, it's going to be pretty much brittle. Tips would be stay out of the harsh sun. Keep your hair protected if you're in the harsh sun.
Oh, it'll dry it out?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it would have the same effect on your hair as a flat iron or a curling iron would if you
Oh,
stay
wow.
if you stay in the sun too long. Yes.
Oh, wow. Like, so what's too long, like, that would have a grave effect on your hair?
Well, too long to the point where when you go home at night and you detangle your hair, it's like really tangled and it's breaking off in the comb.
Okay, so
Yeah.
recovering from that, so you have,
Yes.
so you did spend the day at the beach, your hair is burned or dry or brittle breaking, you know, what are some quick fixes for that?
I wouldn't say quick fix, but because you have to do some time either under a plastic cap or under a dryer, would be to do some moisturizing treatments, some deep penetrating moisturizer treatments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Well, those are good tips, and what you eat does make a difference.
Oh yeah. It
And
makes
then
all the
water
difference in the
intake,
world.
I presume,
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah. If you have a low water intake, your hair is going to be pretty much dry. Same with your skin. It's the same.
And so how much water would you recommend your clients
I
drink
would say anywhere from 6 to 8 glasses of
Okay.
water. Yeah.
a day?
Yeah, and it results will vary depending on your body type. If you find yourself just going to the bathroom profusely, excessively, then you probably can take it down a notch depending on your body type.
To cut down on the frequent urination.
Yeah,
but
because sometimes you don't want to put too much work on your body organs. If your body is okay with just 6 glasses, keep it at 6 glasses.
Okay, I understand.
Extra,
but
yeah.
it is helpful. That's a good place to start.
Oh,
is
yeah.
to
6 to
moisturize
8.
the hair and,
Oh, yeah.
and keep the strength of it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, many believe that extensions, relaxers, and color are damaging to the hair, and they absolutely steer clear, right? So if you're using those types of products, what tips do you recommend to protect natural hair from damage?
After every chemical service, I highly recommend getting a deep protein treatment as well as a deep moisturizing treatment to kind of offset a lot of that damage. Also, you want to prep your hair before you get those kind of services done on your hair. So if you know, for example, relaxer time is coming up in about 3 weeks, you want to really beef up the treatments, the moisturizing treatments and the protein treatments, so that when it's time to do your relaxer, it's not as damaging on your hair. And also don't, for example, if you're getting a relaxer, don't relax it bone straight, because you want to leave some elasticity in the hair.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's a good tip. That's a really good tip. What are some quick ways to maintain great hair even when you're short on time?
Maintain great hair when you're short on time.
Because it's kind of, you kind of have to take the time to do it. So for like a busy professional who may not have time to do the deep conditioning per se, I guess you just have to make the time, huh?
Yeah, definitely. For things like moisturizing your hair and getting that protein in your hair, you have to do the time. In terms of like maintaining style or keeping a style up, let's just say, for example, you go to the salon every 2 weeks and you get a blow dry and a curl, okay? If you want to help keep the hair healthy, either wrap the hair every night so you won't have to keep putting the flat iron and curling iron through it, or put rollers in your hair But if the rollers are causing breakage, which a lot of them do, just pretty
really?
much, yeah.
From it being too tight?
Yeah, and you sleeping on them.
I
That
see.
actually is the part that creates the most breakage, is you sleeping with
On
those
the rollers.
Yes.
From the tension? Is it tension of it
Yes,
pressing
while you're
against it?
sleeping. Yeah, while you're sleeping. And then you don't know what's going on while you're tossing and turning.
I never thought about that. Okay.
Yeah, so in lieu of rollers, you can also just roll the hair up on a roller and then slide it out of that roller and just create pin curls.
Oh,
And that
okay.
way
That's a good idea.
your body heat is working with that pin curl to help keep that curl defined. So when you get up in the morning, all you have to do is just pull those curls out and shake and go or brush and go. And
Oh, right. I love it. Well, this hair is bouncing and moving around over here.
yeah.
Get to know Tana in Session, international speaker, coach, and author. About this certified career and life strategist. I feel like everybody needs a certified career and life strategist in their lives, whether we all know that or not.
That's right. And a good therapist.
And a good therapist, yes indeed. Okay, so tell me about yourself and why it means so much for you to be of service to others.
Sure. So my background originally is in human resources, and I took a giant leap of faith 2 years ago, and decided to start my own coaching and consulting business. And I did it because on the front end, in terms of human resources, I saw so many people struggling in terms of how to prepare for interviews, how to make sure their resume was on point for what people were looking for, and then what to do the first 90 days on a job to set themselves up for success. So in starting to do that type of coaching and working with individuals, it led to me starting to do speaking engagements. And I was able to share what my story was in terms of, as you mentioned, adversities. Some of the adversities I'd experienced in my life and how I used those as fuel versus excuses to propel myself to my next level of success.
She talks about her highly ranked book, Inside the Revolving Door, Chronicles from the Human Resources Department.
Tell people you may clutch your pearls and you just laugh out loud. It depends on the story. And also talk to some of my HR colleagues who've been in the business longer than me, and just ask them, what were some of the stories that stood out in your mind? And then I sensationalize them. I say to protect the guilty. But yeah, there's stories in there, really quick reads, just a collection of short stories.
Okay.
So it's entertainment. And get your career life in order. As a result of me doing the speaking engagements where I was going to companies or different organizations to help their, talk to their employees about what they need to really set themselves up for success, I decided to take a lot of that out and just really develop a step-by-step user guide, if you will. And I included templates for your resume. I talk about how to master behavior interviews, which is what a lot of companies use now. I also talked about how to identify who should be your sponsor, who should be your mentor, who should be your advocate.
Wow, those are really
So yeah, really things in there, networking, I talk about that as well.
Thanks for watching. Visit us online at chundriashow.com.
See more interview clips, be a special guest, and find out how you can get tickets to a live show.
It's Chundria.